I'm up on the green now, and as you can see, I've got the ball fairly near the hole. The easy part is done, what I consider the easy part. Now, if you can't hit the ball at all, maybe the tough part is getting here, but for most golfers, putting is about half the game. Actually, it's designed to be 50%, but in reality, if you look at the numbers, 43% of all golf shots are putts. So 43% of the game is after you get on the green. Now, half of all those putts are short putts. They're your second putts, you've chipped it close, or you've hit a good shot from the fairway, but you've got to get this thing into the hole. If you can't make short putts, this is a tough game. I want to show you today not what's wrong with your stroke, but what you might be encountering on the greens. You may not be reading the breaks correctly, or the green itself may be fooling you. I've got a fairly straight putt here. I want to show you something. I can actually make this putt. It's really not the toughest putt I've ever seen. It just takes a nice little stroke back and through. And I should be able to make most of them. It's a straight putt. You know, if I got in a groove, I might start thinking that I was a pretty good putter here, but I'm going to show you something in a minute that might surprise you. Now, I know I can make this putt, but I want to do something. Just watch what I'm doing. I'm taking the ball out of the hole. I'm just walking around on the green. I'm really not touching that ball. I'm not doing much of anything. But watch what happens now on the same putt, on the same putting stroke. Didn't hit that hard enough. It was a little offline. The ball sometimes bounces a little different. Now I feel like I made the same stroke. The putter went back, the putter went through, all of a sudden the ball's bouncing a little left. What should I do? What should a poor golfer do when they stand here feeling like they make a good stroke and they're missing putts? Today it's me. Tomorrow it might be you. What if you're practicing your putting and you stand here and you miss 4 straight putts? What are you going to do? Well, your ball may be hitting a footprint, but you probably don't know that. You're going to change your stroke. Of course you're going to change your stroke. You're going to learn, now my subconscious is telling me to push this putt a little bit because I just missed 2 in a row on the left. I'm going to now get something in my stroke that tells me to make that ball go to the right. No, I still missed it. Now I'm really screwed up. I'm going to change my stroke even more. I think this is the wrong way to practice. I don't think I'm going to get any better. I just had a good stroke. I made 4 or 5 in a row, but then some footprints knocked it off. There's a better way to practice. Let me show you this. What I have here is a training aid. It's called a truth board. It's a device that is made by a company, US Golf Aids, but I endorse it because I believe it's a better way to practice than on a real green. I'm talking about developing my putting stroke, and I want to practice on a surface that doesn't have any footprints on it. This is a solid aluminum plate with a perfect little carpet on it. It's got a couple of other features I want to show to you. It's got a mirror so that I can see where my eyes are when I stand over the putt to make sure my eyes are in perfect position. It's got a 4-inch hole. It's a little smaller than a regular hole because when you have no footprints, it's easier to putt. So it's about as difficult to make this 3-foot putt as it is to make a real 3-footer on a good green on a golf course. And there's one other feature. There's a level here. As I turn this knob, I can this length of this leg changes, and I can change this surface to be perfectly flat, whether I have it on a green here or where I usually use this is in my office, in my den, or in my home. Now, if I lay this down and I want to start practicing my putting stroke, all I do, here I'm just going to lay it kind of like it's going at the same hole I was at before, and I'll put a ball on it. I know when I stand up over this now that I'm not, whoops, I didn't level it. Hang on just a minute here. I need to always make this level. Now I know I'm putting a straight putt. If I put my putter down and it's lined up with the little lines that are on here that automatically say I have perfect aim, I know I'm aimed perfect. I stand here until I can see my eyes right over the ball. I know my eyes are on the line, and now I can just make a pure, perfect little stroke. And if I don't do anything bad with my wrists or my hands, since I know I started straight, it teaches me a dead hand stroke. It teaches me not to manipulate. It's really a good device. I'm not trying to sell this thing now, believe me. I use training aids in my schools all the time. When I practice, I want to get feedback. When my students practice, I want you to get feedback. I want you to get better as a result of your practice. If I put this ball down on a perfect surface, I've got the hole 3 inches away, I know I'm aimed perfectly, I know my eyes are in perfect position, all I have to do is make a pure stroke, and I'll make it every time. Now actually, that's pretty easy. No footprints, I can make 100 in a row on this. In fact, the drill that I want people to do, I ask all my tour players to do it, I want them to use this device called the Truth Board until they make 30 in a row every night, 5 nights in a week. 5 times 30 in a row with their eyes closed. You don't need to look. Once you get everything lined up, as you take the putter away, you close your eyes. This internalizes the feel of a good stroke, and when you can make 30 in a row, you're ready to go on to the next step of practice, and I'm going to show you what that is right now. I've adjusted the Truth Board now. I've added the hole reducers. We've got 2 different sizes called the Pro difficulty hole reducers. Makes the hole smaller than 4 inches wide. It's less than 3 inches wide. It's still 4 inches deep, but it's less than 3 inches wide. If I get real good at this difficulty, I can go to the Super Pro hole reducers, and it'll make it about 2 inches wide. Now, I've got a ball here. I want to show you. We've got tour professionals putting with us in their hotel rooms every night, and what they do is they close their eyes and they make these putts. When they do it on the Pro difficulty, they know they're hitting at less than a 3-inch hole. Now, if I can make 30 in a row with my eyes closed this way, it's time for me to go to the Super Pro. All I do now is take out these Pro hole reducers, put in the Super Pro, and I've got less than a 2-inch hole. Now, I've really got to line this up straight, or I can't ever make this one, because I've got a 1.78-inch ball, 6/8-inch ball, and a 2-inch hole. So now I've really got to make a great stroke here. Dead hands, pure, right into the center of the cup. If I can make 100 in a row with this, and that's our record so far on tour, 100 in a row into a 2-inch hole with your eyes closed. If you can do that, when you get on the golf course and you've got a 4 1/4-inch hole and you know there are a few footprints that might screw you up, you get confidence in your own stroke. If you miss, you know it's the green, it's not you. Don't change your stroke. This is the way you want to practice and get better. Now, when we come back, there's one other big problem on the putting greens, and I want Mike Stanley to show you what he does about it.
Now, the most difficult shots in golf are easy to make with the Alien Ultimate Wedge. You'll be out in one swing, guaranteed.
I don't care how high a handicapper you are or how little you play. You'll get out of the sand on your very first swing or your money back.
Over 60% of all shots are taken within a short distance of the pin. The Alien Ultimate Wedge's triple radius design gets you out of the sand, out of the deep rough, even off hard pan. You don't need a new swing, a new stance, or a sports psychologist. All you need to get on the green is the Alien Ultimate Wedge. Call now for your free video and brochure and find out how you can get this revolutionary club in your bag.
If you live for golf and want to save strokes, pick up the phone right now and order your Alien Wedge. I guarantee you'll be glad you did.
The Alien Ultimate Wedge.
There's a long one.
One swing, and you're out of there.
Right on it. Oh, thanks.
Guaranteed.
Welcome back to the Golf Channel Academy. I'm standing out here on the beautiful putting green at the beautiful Castle Pines International Tournament. This is the PGA Tour. I've caught up with a good friend of mine, Mike Stanley. I've known Mike for many, many years, and he's agreed to help tell you all what he does and help you understand what he does in reading greens. Now, I've been talking a lot. You know what I think about reading greens. Mike came to one of our short game schools a number of months ago. I don't even remember now, but he knows what I believe. But more importantly for right now, I want you to understand he's worked it into his game. He's out there playing every day. He's making a living. And we kind of call him Mr. New Orleans because he's won there. He's finished 2nd and 5th. And I mean, he's always in the top 10 at New Orleans. And what the quest is now is to get him to finish and win this thing here. I mean, we've got beautiful golf course, beautiful undulating greens. Mike, the show is about how do you read greens. I want a living, breathing tour experience. What do you do? What do you think? How do you go about it? We got a putt here. Tell us about it.
I think a lot of the reading putts is you just have to know, a lot of it up here in the mountains, up here in Denver, you've got the valleys. So you've got to pay a little bit of attention to where the valley is, where the low spots are. You'd be up against a mountain and it looks like it's going to go that way, but 90% of the time it goes to where the low spots of the valleys are. So you've got to pay attention, look where the valleys are. And then when you get up, look, see where the water, if you pour some water, where water will run on the green. Then you got to just kind of look around when you walk up to the greens, look from the fairway, look and pay attention. And, that's one of the best places to find out where the green's going to, what the green's going to do is walking up to it. You can see a lot of stuff. And when you get up here, you want to look from behind it, see where the flat spots are and low spots. Then you want to look, from up by the sides, get up on the sides and on the corners. Look from the back. The back you can get an extra view of it. Then I think once you get a pretty good idea, you want to get over to the side of it and to where you think it'll. You want to start it up here. So you want to pick your line out. Then you want to kind of follow it, where it's going to break into the hole. Then you want to just kind of get the feel, stand back, get a good line, get the feel for it, and kind of ease into it. Keep looking at the break. And I think you want to look up at the break to get the line going that way instead of looking at the hole. If you look at the hole, I think you're going to start it at the hole a little bit more. So you want to look up, pick your spot out about halfway, somewhere to roll the ball over, and you just try to get the feel for it. Oh. Hopefully you do that right there.
Yes, yes, yes.
So I think, you just mainly want to, up here in the mountains, you want to get to where the valleys are. If you're on a flat golf course, pay attention to where the lakes and the rivers are. A lot of the grass and slope, tends to go that way a lot.
Okay.
That's my advice.
Now, if you have anything special on a right to left putt, I know when you came to the school, you didn't feel you were putting one way as well as the other, left to right versus right to left.
Yeah.
What have you come up with then? I mean, you've got a lot of breaking putts here this week.
Yeah, we do. I think a lot of it is, we're try to figure out from the fairway. Say, okay, my right to lefters are a little bit better. So, you may want to favor one side of the hole from the fairway. That's a lot of the way I do it. All right, my left to right putts aren't real good. Try to play into your game, a little bit this week, a little more. Because some of these greens out here, you can have a 15-foot putt, and you can have 4 or 5 feet of break. So you just want to figure out, what's your strong point and try to play into it.
Okay, listen, very, very excellent point. If you have trouble on left to right putts, I want to tell you something for sure. If you are on a left to right putt, you have one, if you hit that ball, if you're a right-handed golfer, if you hit that ball on the toe of the putter and it opens the blade, you're going to miss it below the hole. You can't make a left to right putt if you hit it on the toe. Now this putt, right to left, if you hit it a little bit on the toe, it's going to start out a little bit to the right, but then it's going to be a little weak, it'll break too much. You can still make the thing. And that may be why a lot of players like right to left better than left to right. If you have that, you may start playing. I remember Johnny Miller when he won the U.S. Open. He said, I got the ball on the right side of the cup coming into every green. In that last round, he had all the kind of putts he liked, and of course he was making them right and left, but that's a very important point. Now, Mike, what I want you to do here, we're standing up, we're very elevated. We're at 6,000 feet here, and we've got a nice breeze. It's 5 or 10 miles an hour blowing across here. What I want you to do is take our audience through this putt in the tournament. It's maybe the last hole, maybe this is 17, and you're on here in 2, and you've got this for an eagle, which is a big point generation.
Yeah.
In the international, in the sprint international, I mean, it's a, what's the name of the system? Stableford system. Okay, now this putt, and I want you to take us through it one more time, what you're visualizing, what you're thinking.
Okay. Yeah, I think one of the first things you got to visualize is when you're coming up from the fairway, you know, get a look of where the ball is and what the slopes around the green are doing. Then your next one is think of where the valley is. You know, up here in Denver, we got the valleys. A lot of the greens, all the greens go to the valley a little bit, all the putts. You know, so when you get those two ideas in your mind, really before you get up to the green, and you want to get up here and look from the back, look up where you think it's going to break. You know, look up to the right of the hole, going right to left, and pick a point out halfway between you and the hole, something for a little reference. You know, you want to roll the ball over that little area. You know, get a good feel for it. You look back over here, you get a good line, good feel for it. And you want to kind of stroll up to it, looking down the line. You know, look at your spot up here. Look at your spot more than you look at the hole, because if you look at the hole, I think you have a tendency to start it at the hole a little more. So pick your spot up above the hole where you want it to roll. You know, get a good practice stroke, good feel. Oh, just a little too hard.
All right, well, a birdie is not bad. Now, I mean, birdie's not bad, but listen, I've known Mike Stanley a long time. He hits the ball forever. The question with Mike Stanley, you've been doing great at New Orleans. How are we going to get that to happen this week? You gotta just relax, pretend you're at New Orleans, and go get them.
I think so. You know, I talking a little to Steve Elkington a couple weeks after New Orleans this year. I finished 5th there. You know, we were talking about it. You know, I asked him, you know, how do you get the same feel from one course where you play really good to another course? And he said he didn't know. It's just something you grow with. You know, something that happens over a period of time. So yeah, you just got to figure out, you know, how to get the same feeling from New Orleans for me to other golf courses. Yeah.
Okay. Well, listen, Mike, thank you very much. I think one thing I want to leave the audience with this week is I see these guys come every week to a different city. Every week they play a different golf course. You all travel a lot. You play different greens, different golf courses. You've got to start filing these memories away. Every time you make a putt, watch it. Watch what it does, because you're going to see another putt somewhere like this, Mike. It might be on the 5th hole this week. It might be 3 weeks from now. You're going to see a putt that looks exactly like this. When you stroke that ball, hold your finish, watch it roll, soak in that information so that the next time you see a green like this, your natural read when you're looking at it will be correct.
Yeah, you're right.
All right, my friend, thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
All right.
Go get them.
All right.
For information about the Dave Pelz Short Game School, call 1-800-824-8899.
Windstopper golf apparel stops cold wind. It's also incredibly breathable.
Looks like the wind's picking up.
But the most amazing thing is Windstopper golf apparel keeps you warm without a lot of layers, so you get remarkable freedom of movement. Windstopper apparel for golf, fitness, hunting, backpacking, and every day.
Hey, where'd you get that shirt?
The Golf Channel has people talking.
Everybody in town is saying the same thing. He really has it.
Give me some more information, Joe.
Golf Talk Live invites you to talk with the legends of the game.
They're really special people to me.
Mind in a sportsman is far more important than hitting a golf ball well.
Oh, I've been hearing about that.
Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us tonight. Golf Talk Live. Get connected today.
Live tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern.
If you want to learn how to skip them over water, how to hit the bump and run, and even the Texas turn down, join me on the next Dave Pelz Short Game Show on the Golf Channel Academy. I've got D.A. Wybrey as our special guest.
Coming up next.
Now don't forget, I want you to keep charting your games. For 10 rounds, I want you to keep track of how many drives you hit. This will be about 14, I guess. how many shots you hit from outside 100 yards, and how many you hit from inside 100, and how many putts you take. Add these numbers up following each round. I'll take all this information, and on a later show, I'll prove to you not only the importance of your short game, but why and where you need to improve it. Remember, send this information to me at the Dave Pelz Short Game Show, care of the Golf Channel, 7580 Commerce Center Drive, Orlando, Florida, 32819. In every show, when I show you some data, I always call it my 65% data point to remind you that 65% of all the shots in golf occur inside of 100 yards. That's the short game, and that's where I'm working. Now, today's 65% data point is the result of a 1,500 player test that I've run in my short game schools. I have asked people to read the break of a putt. They tell me where they're aiming, then I measure where they really aim, then I measure where the ball starts, what line it starts on, and then I go out and scientifically measure the true break of the putt. I find an amazing difference. People actually read about 25% of the break that really exists. But their subconscious must know something. It steps up and it aims about for twice as much break as they said they were going to. Then, when they actually strike the putt, they pull or push it up the hill another 25%, so that in actuality they putt 75 to 85 to 90 sometimes, 90% of the real break. Now, they usually miss the putt below the hole, and that's why 85% of all putts that miss below the hole. Now, to come back to what we're doing here today, I want to show you, you've seen what Mike Stanley does to try to figure out how to read these breaks. What I want to do is convince you, number one, of an easy way that you can test to see if this is really your problem. I want you to get an aim line. It's kind of a elastic string between two posts, and you can put it along a green, run it right over the top of a ball that you're going to practice the breaking putt on. And I want you to then use a blocking plate. This plate will not allow you to putt it above that line. That's the true test. Now, the line alone doesn't do you any good, because a lot of players put the ball there, pull it way off the line, then it goes in the hole and they think the line is correct. So always put the blocking plate above the line, and only put it about 2 feet in front of your ball. Now, this putt is breaking left to right. If I pull this putt to the left and play more break than I've got set here, the plate will stop the ball. So I know that that wasn't a really good putt down the line. But now if I start it truly on the line that I've read here mentally, I see, golly, no way was that enough break. No way was that enough break. Now, I've actually, before I came on screen here, I've read the break of this putt. And I have another aim line here. I'm just going to stretch it out on the real line of this putt. Now that's how much this putt really breaks. If I set up on this line that is the true break and make a nice, smooth, non-compensating stroke, I ought to either make this 2.5 foot breaker or come awfully close to it. It's a pretty tough putt. You're not going to make them all, but it's a lot easier to make breaking putts when you play enough break. You know, it's a lot easier to make these putts if you're aiming and start them on the line that you're supposed to. Now, I want you to do something for me. If you don't think this applies to you, if you don't think you're really misreading putts, I want you to just keep track of how many putts you miss above and below the hole the next few rounds you play. Every time you putt on every green, when you miss a putt, put an A if you missed it above, put a B if you missed it below. When you get done with every round, see how many A's and B's you have. Most golfers have about 5 or 6 times as many B's as A's. If you're doing that, you're not playing enough break. Now, you should miss 50% above and 50% below. It's okay to miss some putts above the hole sometimes. It's okay. Now, I want you to remember what we've told you here today. There are a couple of problems on the green that aren't really the fault of your own putting stroke. You know, if you miss some short putts and you feel like you're making a good stroke, don't change your putting stroke. It could be the green, it could be footprints. If you miss some putts out on the course that are below or above the hole and you feel like you made a good stroke, it may not be your fault. It's not the fault of your stroke mechanics, it's the fault of your green reading. You've got to get after that. You've got to do what Mike Stanley says. You've got to see the terrain. You've got to practice with an aim line some. You can make more breaking putts if you work on it. You can make a lot of short putts if you'll get enough practice and know the feeling of a good putting stroke and not screw it up the first time you miss 2 or 3. Just remember, it's not always your own fault. Now, you all travel a lot. You play different greens, different golf courses. You've got to start filing these memories away. Every time you make a putt, watch it. You're going to see a putt that looks exactly like this. When you stroke that ball, hold your finish, watch it roll, soak in that information so that the next time you see a green like this, your natural read when you're looking at it will be correct. Now, if you have trouble on left to right putts, I want to tell you something for sure. If you are on a left to right putt, you have one, if you hit that ball, if you're a right-handed golfer, if you hit that ball on the toe of the putter and it opens the blade, you're going to miss it below the hole. You can't make a left to right putt if you hit it on the toe. I want to thank you for being with us today. I've enjoyed it. I want to thank Mike Stanley, and I hope to see you next time on the next Dave Pelz Short Game show that works on your short game. Welcome to the Golf Channel Academy and the Dave Pelz Short Game Show. Here we are today at my short game facility. This is the ranch at PGA West. It's out in La Quina, California, and we have built here really the short game paradise for golfers. I have 5 greens, I have bent grass, I have Bermuda greens, I have bunkers of every description, I have pothole bunkers, I have deep bunkers, I have shallow bunkers. I have a wedge range here that is just perfect for practicing hitting your wedges the right distance. And I have a classroom where we go in and we can see films and video and computer analysis. We have here the ultimate teaching facility for the short game. I have here today, I've set up to show you a fairly different golf shot. This is what I call the alternative shots. From this position to get this ball to this pin, which I've set up for, and I have another pin on the other side of the water over here, I'm going to say that the normal shots won't work. The high lofted wedge that I pitch right up on the green and let it check and bounce and roll to the pin, it's not going to work because I've got tree limbs above. I've got to go under it. So I can't use a nice pitch onto the green or a high lofted wedge. I can't do it over here either because, again, I have problems overhead. So I've got to hit low running shots. I've somehow got to get this ball up that hill. And what I want to show you today is that golfers execute these shots very poorly for 3 reasons. The first reason is they don't understand the shot. They don't set up with an understanding of what this terrain will do to a golf ball. They don't understand what they're trying to do. They're just trying to move the ball from here to there. The second thing, even if they knew what shot they were trying to hit, well, they don't have the technique. They don't have the mechanics. We're going to get to those in this show. And finally, because of a lack of those 2 things, they're basically just hoping to get this ball up there somehow. In the middle of the swing, the subconscious takes over, what I call the oh my God. The oh my God strikes, and they hit the shot very poorly because what they're interested in is the result, and they don't understand how the result's going to get there. So they get scared. When you have fear in your subconscious during a golf swing, you're in real trouble, and I think you've probably experienced that. Now let me show you something about this hill. physically, I want you to understand, if this is the ground, if this is level, there's a fundamental, it relates to physics, but it's really a golf fundamental. When the ball comes in, the incoming angle relative to the perpendicular, let's say this is straight up in the air and this is the ground. If a ball comes in at 45 degrees, if the incoming angle is 45 to the vertical, the bounce will be at 45. So the incoming angle is always the same as the bounce angle. Now, I know that if you were hitting into a brick wall and you put a golf ball coming in, you know it wouldn't go anywhere. You think it would come back at you. But that's not true. If you had the ball coming in at 45, it would leave going down. In fact, the truth is, if you put a slope, a hill at 45 degrees, now remember, the perpendicular to that hill is going straight out there. If you had a ball coming in like a 9-iron shot or a pitching wedge at 45 degrees, it would bounce right back at you. It would go nowhere. It wouldn't bounce 1/10 of 1 inch forward. It would hit the slope and bounce right back at you. So when you have a slope that you're bringing a shot into, every degree the slope goes up, the bounce goes backwards 2 degrees. It bounces 2 degrees less forward. So if you have a 25-degree slope, the ball goes almost straight up in the air and goes nowhere. If you have a 30-degree slope, it's not going to get there. So that's the problem people face, and they don't understand it. I want to show you what I've got here. Now, as I walk to the green, I'm walking along smooth territory. Everything here would produce the same bounce. I could land a ball anywhere along here, nothing would really change. All the bounce angles would be the same. Now, as I get to right here, I start up a slope. And now I'm walking up to the green, and the slope is increasing. This is pretty steep right here. If I land a ball here, it's not going to go very far. In fact, I walk up and I make sure my conventional shot would not work. I can't land the ball on the green and keep it with this pin. There's no way. I've got to land the ball here somewhere. There is a perpendicular to the slope all up here as it rounds up to be flat. Every particular part of the ground, there is a perpendicular. And as I move down the slope, the perpendicular changes. As the slope gets steeper, it moves more forward. So for every position of ground here, there is actually a perfect spot where a pitching wedge would hit once and bounce and go right to the pin. Then there's a 9-iron. It would hit perfectly right there, and an 8-iron. The problem is, as the slope is changing and as the distance changes, there's only one little area where you can land each one of those shots and have the ball end up near the hole. So I really don't recommend landing anywhere up here at all, because if you don't execute perfectly, you're not going to get a good result. So I don't want to say pitching wedge, 1 bounce there, a 9-iron, 1 bounce there, an 8-iron, 1 bounce here, a 7-iron, a 6-iron, a 5. I don't want any of that. What I want you to learn to do is land that ball here on the flat. You must get the ball on the ground before it hits the slope. Then as it hits the ground, it will scoot at a very low angle forward, and the angle that it hits the slope will be very low, and the ball will run up. It will scoot on up that slope. Now, I want to show you, I want to hit a few of those shots for you, because the real talent here in reading the shot is to have practiced it enough to know what's going to happen. You've got to understand how that ball is going to land on the base and then run up that slope. It's not that difficult to execute, but if you haven't ever practiced, you have no possible way of perceiving what shot you need. This, in the finesse game, reading the shot is as important as reading the break on a putt. If you don't know what that ball is going to do once it lands and starts bouncing, you have no chance to get it close to the hole. Now let me show you a few shots. I've got a pitching wedge. I'm going to try this. I think it's probably not the club. It's not the one I would choose because I think the bank is a little bit too steep. But let me put a little pitching wedge on the bank there, and we'll just see what happens. Now, it actually bounced forward, but it only bounced forward a little bit. It didn't go nearly far enough. It's clear to me it's not the right club. When we come back, I want to show you what is the right club and how you can get that ball up there fairly repeatedly every time.
Golf Channel Academy is brought to you by Ram FX Series irons. More feel, more forgiving, more fun. A better way to play. And by Payne Weber. We believe our most important investment is an investment in relationships.
Zebra the putter. Millions of dollars earned. Countless PGA, LPGA, seniors, and world tournaments won. Cleaver the putter for over 20 years. The Herd shot round the world.
The new FX Pro Set iron. Original thinking, original design, original performance. 3 different sets in one. The power to improve your game, times 3.
Call us at 1-800-RAM-PLAY.
Started putting money away for my college when I was little, right?
Smartest thing I ever did.
I guess I gotta start thinking about stuff like that.
I'll talk to my guy, Payne Weber. He got you through college.
Broker? Do I want to be in stocks right now?
I thought the same thing when I started saving for you. But he showed me if I was looking long-term, and the only place to be is in the market.
And he'll know that's what I'm looking for.
He'll know. Because he'll ask.
Coming up on the next Golf Central, we'll see which team prevails at the Sharks Shootout. We'll have all the interviews and highlights from Thousand Oaks, California, and final round results from the Pebble Beach Invitational. That and more, 7:30 Eastern, only on the Golf Channel.
Welcome back, and I want you to learn some of these alternative shots and put them into your short game repertoire. Now, what I've done, I have chosen a 6-iron. I read this shot to be about a 6-iron shot. I think I can land a 6 before it gets to the slope. I can get it bumping and running. It'll chase up the slope and maybe dribble on the green up near the pin. What I really want to do for sure here is get it on the green somewhere. I don't want to leave it on the slope, which is kind of another tough shot ahead of me. I want to get rid of that. And of course, I don't want to knock it over the green. So now we come to execution. An awful lot of golfers who don't have this shot in their mind's eye, they don't know what they're trying to do, they take their 6-iron or their 5-iron and they put it very far forward in their stance, and then they just try to hit it. That's a bad thing to try. I want you to stand beside your ball and just swing your 6-iron, just swing it back and forth through the grass, really lightly, so you're just skimming the grass. And I want you to notice where the bottom of your arc is. For every swing any golfer makes, and I don't just want you to do it with your hands, I want you to kind of do a little body motion back and through. I want you to create the swing arc and see where the bottom of that arc is. Now you want to put this ball relative to the front and back of your stance at a point where you're just hitting the ball near the bottom of the arc. I don't want to hit a descending blow. It'll put too much backspin on it. I certainly don't want to try to hit it on the upswing because I may hit the ground first. So I want to put it near the center of my stance. If I know where the bottom of my arc is, now the next question is, how do I actually hit this shot? I don't want to see you hit it and stop. I don't want to see you cock your wrists on the backswing and again create a descending angle into the shot. I want you to have a swinging motion, very little wrist action. The length of the swing is going to kind of determine how far the ball goes. Now, if you know that you can make solid contact, the ball's not too far forward in your stance, and you know you're not going to come down on it, you'll have what we call the bump and run shot, because it'll have a little backspin on it. This club face angle is going to create a little bit of backspin, but it's normal, and all I've got in front of me today is fairway. It should run on up there. So let me try one here. I'm imagining that that's about the length swing I need to land this ball just short of the rise. I'm just going to bump it up there. Now that's a little past the pin. I want to do another one that will just be a hair short of that. If I land that ball about 2 or 3 feet shorter than that last shot, it should go up there and be pretty close. Okay, from here, when I look at that, I see that ball 5 feet from the hole. You know, it's not a gimme, but I have a good chance of making it. I have a good chance of getting my up and down. If I would practice this a few times, move back and forth, a little closer, a little further, learn the relationship between where I have to land this 6-iron to watch it chase right up that hill, I'll be in pretty good shape with this shot. Now, there's something else I want to show you. What if I was standing here and instead of a beautiful fairway and a nice slope, I had exactly the same slope, but there was 2 to 3 inch Bermuda grass on that slope? that ball would have no chance of getting up the slope. I mean, if I hit exactly the same shot, it would hit on the flat, it would take one bounce into that Bermuda and just get swallowed up. I mean, Bermuda grass is really tough. So there is a shot that I have seen. It's called the Texas turn down. A lot of Texas players use it because they have to learn to run the ball through Bermuda. And it's a very difficult shot for me because I have very slow hand action in golf, and I don't use my hands a whole lot. The best player I've ever seen at this is Chichi Rodriguez. The guy is unbelievable because he can take his hands and right as he comes through impact, he turns them over like that. The Texas turn down is setting the ball out on the toe of the club, and then right as you get to impact, have it come from an open position to turn it down. You're trying to take the ball and turn it down into the ground. You're trying to minimize the backspin. The only way a ball is going to go through Bermuda up a slope is if it's turning over. You've got to create the overspin. So I'm going to try one here. Don't be too tough on me now because my directional control when I roll my wrist gets very poor. I haven't practiced it a whole lot and I've never been very good at it. But I set the ball out on the toe. Now that ball hit about the same place as the other 6-iron, but it had much less backspin on it. It may have even had a little overspin on it. I don't know if I got it or not, but it rolled 20 feet further. It may have had a chance to go through the Bermuda. I don't know. I don't know how much you play in Bermuda grass. If you don't play at all, don't worry about it, but the Texas turn down is a quick turning over of the wrists at the impact moment, and your direction is going to be terrible if you don't practice it a lot. The other shot, the bump and run, is fairly easy. It's just a smooth, normal swing right through impact, catch the ball right at the bottom of a low swinging arc, and it'll run right up hills like this all the time. Now, there's one last shot I want to talk to you about from here that is really not a bad choice. It's a putt. I just watched Davis Love hit a great putt at the last hole of the Masters. He didn't make the thing, but he got it up and down over this incredible hill. He just putted all the way up it. And he had virtually no chance of bumping or flying anything to the top. He could have hit a bump and run with an iron, but he putted it. Now, he's obviously practiced that shot, but I would not be afraid to putt this. Really, the shot that I've shown right here on the show today is a fairly easy shot. You could putt it, but you got to practice even that. All that it's doing is starting at a lower angle, and you've got to make sure it won't get caught up in any grass short of the green. Now, I want to show you one more shot that's really kind of fun. It's the skip off of water. I want to take my 5-iron here because I want to get a fairly low angle of approach to it, and I want to show you a couple of shots here till this pin off in the distance. Now, I'm not good enough at the Texas turn down to even think about doing it here, and you don't need it. What I'm going to do again is find the bottom of my arc. Once I've done this a little, I know where it is. I want to put that ball right where I know the bottom of my arc is, a hair back of it just to make sure I make solid contact. And I roll that ball right up on the green. It's really not a problem. If you do it a few times, you can learn to completely forget about losing the ball in the water. I mean, hitting a ball that hard, that ball skipped twice. I'll try to skip this one once. Not bad, huh? You can get the ball under trees, right across the water, right up onto the green here without much of a problem. When we come back, I want you to see D.A. Weibring do these shots. I want you to see his technique on the bump and run.
Sick of that slice? Tired of hitting it fat? Ready to lower your handicap? Then pick up the phone and call 1-800-831-8008 and order your own copy of Harvey Penick's Little Green Video. Hosted by Dave Marr and featuring U.S. Open champion Tom Kite and two-time Masters champion Ben Crenshaw, the Little Green Video can knock strokes off your score in a hurry. Rated 4 stars by Golf Magazine, the Little Green Video is jam-packed with more than 70 minutes of lessons, stories, tips, and drills. The Little Green Video will give you instant access to the secrets that have helped thousands play their best. Anytime you're having trouble, just pop in the tape and Harvey's teachings will get you straight. The Little Green Video costs just $19.95 plus $4.50 shipping and handling. Satisfaction guaranteed or your money back. Harvey Penick was perhaps golf's greatest teacher. Call 1-800-831-8008 and order the little green video today.
Later tonight on the Golf Channel, Golf Central at 11:30, followed by Shell's Wonderful World of Golf featuring Byron Nelson at 12, and Golf Talk Live at 1 a.m. Eastern.
Welcome back to the Dave Pelz Short Game Show. Now, since I've been chasing balls up and down these hills for this show, I went out and I chased down D.A. Weibring. He's a good friend of mine, and I went after D.A. for this show for one simple reason. He's known to have a great short game. D.A. can bump and run it with the best of them. He's been known for his consistently high finishes in the majors. Overseas, he wins a lot of tournaments, and especially when the playing conditions get tough and the weather is difficult and everybody's missing greens, D.A. Weibring can play with anybody. Now, what I want to do is have you see D.A.'s technique for the bump and run.
Dave, I've got 3 clubs here. I got a shot that I want to have some versatility, and I think people need to realize at home that don't just be locked into one club you chip with. May it be a sand wedge or a 7-iron or whatever, but because of the conditions, there's normally 3 different clubs. You can play almost every shot, not only a chip shot, but probably out in the fairway as well. Now, the first thing I'll do here is I'll try to read the bank. I want to look for a flat spot where I can land the ball, so I can get a good consistent bounce up the hill. Would you agree with that?
The first bounce, that's it. That's what you're talking about.
Exactly.
All right, what are we going to try here?
Well, why don't we show them how not to do it first, okay?
Good.
If I would take the 8-iron here, and I think people try to line drive it into the bank a little bit too much, and they would hit it a little bit too hard, and that one hop would kind of hop up over the hill, and the ball would take off and run, and you wouldn't have very good control of it. That's what you don't want to do. Or then they get nervous and they'll try to hit a shot and they won't quite get it there, rather than really picking out a spot where they want to land the ball, okay? Now, if I was going to go with this 8-iron, I want to land the ball just at the base of the hill. I see a nice flat spot. I want it to take one nice bounce that'll kill it and then allow it to go ahead and roll over the bank.
Okay.
And let it go ahead and roll right on up there. Now that's
Very
up
nice.
there
Very
under control. I think we can get that one up and down.
All right. Let's see it with. Let's see, that was an 8-iron. Let's take the 7.
Okay.
What are you thinking now?
7-iron, a little bit less loft. The ball's going to roll a little bit more, so I'm going to get the ball going a little bit lower and have it chase a little bit more going into the hill. Okay. A little bit lower, allow it to go ahead and roll a little bit more into the hill.
Okay, I thought I would take that one.
Okay.
My friend, now let's see a 6-iron.
Well, 6-iron, you know, when you get down 6-iron, 5-iron, if you wanted to, you could kind of go to your old putting stroke. You know, for a lot of amateurs, a good choice if it's mowed down areas is use a putter and roll it up there. You could do the same thing with a 6-iron. Go ahead and take your putting stance, get it back in your stance, and then go ahead and really have it roll. Really have the ball kind of rolling up the hill and control the speed that way. Huh?
Not bad there.
That'll work.
All right. You've shown me 3 different shots, and you've hit the ball the right place every time. That means to me you've practiced this a bunch of times.
I have.
I don't want our audience to think the concept's no good because the first time you try it, you land the ball in the wrong spot and it doesn't work out. You got to practice this thing. I mean, how much are you practicing this over a period of 8 weeks, 2 months on the tour? How many times are you going to do this shot?
Well, if we get through a stretch like Florida, Texas, where we have golf courses where we really need this shot, I'll practice it every day. I'll hit a few pitch shots every day, try to balance my practice. I think early in the week you start off working on your full swing, and then you put that in place, and then as the tournament goes on, I work mainly on my short game.
Well, I know a lot of people say this man has good touch, but I want to tell you what, I've seen him work on this shot a lot, and there are a lot of other shots around the greens that he works on too, and nobody has good touch if they don't work on it.
It really is, and it can be a lot of fun. I mean, you really can have a lot of fun. Families can go out. Anybody can be a pretty good chipper. It's not a strength factor. It's just understanding technique, especially when you chip the ball. Get the ball back in your stance. Very important. Get your weight left and have your hands in a position where you can control the flight of the golf ball. And then it's pretty much your rhythm and in your confidence. And the more they go up there close and the more that go in, the more confidence you have.
My friend, I want you to start sinking more of these than you've ever sunk before.
Dave, I hope so. I enjoyed being with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
For information about the Dave Pelz Short Game School, call 1-800-824-8899.
Thanks to Sprint Business, now the world is flat. Introducing flat rate pricing for small businesses on all your long distance, even for Sprint 800 service. Enhanced facts and cellular long distance. One low flat rate for everything all over the country, so you know just what you're paying.
Now that's simple.
Call now for flat rate pricing. 1-800-827-3700. Call Sprint Business.
Join us as we discover the golf course designs of Reese Jones on the next Passages to Paradise. We'll tour some of his best layouts, including the green course at the Golden Horseshoe in Williamsburg, Virginia. And we'll visit the legendary Pinehurst Resort for a round of golf on Pinehurst number 7.
I'm Max Andrews. Join me for the next Passages to Paradise.
Tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern.
If you want to putt like that, come join special guest Donnie Hammond and I on the Dave Pelz Short Game Show on the Golf Channel Academy.
Coming up next.
Now don't forget, I want you to keep charting your games. For 10 rounds, I want you to keep track of how many drives you hit. This will be about 14, I guess. How many shots you hit from outside 100 yards, and how many you hit from inside 100, and how many putts you take. Add these numbers up following each round. I'll take all this information, and on a later show, I'll prove to you not only the importance of your short game, but why and where you need to improve it. Remember, send this information to me at the Dave Pelz Short Game Show, care of the Golf Channel, 7580 Commerce Center Drive, Orlando, Florida, 32819. For today's 65% data point, I want you to understand clearly, even though, as you can see, you only hit these alternative shots that we're working on today, 1 out of every 10 or 15 when you're around the greens. You need them in your short games because this is where the big numbers come in. If you hit it bad from one of these places, you can get a double, a triple, a quadruple bogey. That's where all the high numbers come from. So I want you to work on these shots. They're more important than you think. I think it's important that when you're around the greens and you see situations that you're not comfortable with, the shots that you normally hit won't work, you've got some alternative shots in your bag that you can bring out and use. I don't want you making big numbers from here. I don't want a 8 or a 10 or a 12 just because you happen to miss a green and you're under a tree. You can bump and run it. Now, I do want you to remember that the important things about this shot, it kind of falls into 3 categories. First, before you even get to category number 1, you have to understand how balls bounce off of the ground. Remember, if this is the ground, there's a perpendicular, the incoming angle between the shot angle coming in and that vertical is going to equal the bounce angle. They're going to be the same. So as this slope increases, by the time you get to 45 degrees and you're hitting a little pitching wedge in there, it's going to bounce straight up. It's going to actually bounce back at you. So every time you see a slope in front of you, say, ooh, that's about double of what I see. It's going to affect my bounce angle double of what you see with your eyeballs. So understanding that now, the first problem with making a great shot here is visualizing what a great shot would be. You've got to see in your mind's eye something that will work. If you can't imagine yourself doing it, imagine watching Jack Nicklaus or Tom Kite. Kite's probably better, he's got a better short game, but let's watch what you would imagine his shot would do, hitting and bouncing up that slope. If you can't get it in your mind's eye, you're probably not going to do it very well. So you've got to have an idea of what might happen here. So visualize a good shot. Then kind of step up to your ball and think about your technique. Remember, we don't want any steep descent angles here. We don't want any backspin that we don't have to have. So we want low arcs. We need the ball sitting about in the bottom of your arc, and we don't want really wristy swings because that just increases the descent angle. We want fairly quiet wrists. We want a swinging motion, and the size of the swinging motion you have to imagine will land the ball where you imagined the ball needed to be landed. Now, once you actually see that, I want you to focus your mind, change the focus completely and get it on feel. I want you to get the feeling of this swing. Boom, that's what I want to do right there. That's perfect, then do it. Forget this slow play stuff. Just step up and do it. Let that ball go right up the hill. Oh my gosh, I love it. Just let it go right up the hill next to the hole. You can do it. It's not a difficult shot, but you got to have it in your mind's eye. You got to have the feel in your body, and then you got to let yourself do it. Don't focus on the result. Don't get anxious. Look up. Don't hit it with your hands. Wait for it. Let your swing do it. Now I want to leave you with a thought. The great Ben Hogan used to say he would never hit a shot in a tournament that he hadn't practiced that week. I know that's impractical for you to do. You don't practice that much, but the concept that Ben said was important. I would rather have not the optimum shot chosen in my mind's eye, but it's a shot I can do. I'd like to execute it perfectly. A well-executed shot that is not the perfect shot is better than a perfect choice of shot that I flub. I don't want to choose a shot here that I might watch a Peter Jacobson or a Payne Stewart hit. They can do a lot of things. But if I'm going to flub it, that's not the shot for me. Only hit shots in the short game that you have confidence that you can hit. Now, I've enjoyed it today, and I hope you're going to come back for our next Dave Pelz Short Game Show. We're going to teach you to lower your score and lower your handicap. Keep coming back. Hi, I'm Dave Pelz, and welcome to the Dave Pelz Short Game Show. We're here on the Golf Channel Academy. Physically, we're out at PGA West at the ranch. It's a facility we built to teach the short game. I'm standing on a bent grass green here in the desert. It's beautiful. We're ready to work on your putting game. Now we've got Bermuda greens over there, but I want to tell you something about what kind of green you're on and what situation you're in and what kind of putt you have. It's interesting, it follows the 20-80 rule. You know that 20% of the retailers in the United States sell 80% of the merchandise. 20% of the athletes in the NBA make 80% of the money. It seems like that's kind of a general rule. In my short game schools, 8 out of every 10, 80% of the people, have the big three putting problems that I want to talk to you about today. This is a show that's going to attack the big three putting problems. I see them in 80% of the golfers, and you may not be exactly in the trouble that I'm going to be talking about today, but 80% of you are, so let's give a listen, and this may keep you out of these problems if you don't have the problems. The first big problem that I see in so many golfers, 8 out of every 10, during their putting stroke. During their stroke, their swinging motion of the putter, they move their body. They move the platform from which they're swinging that putter. Now, they don't mean to. If I ask them if they're doing it, they say they're not. But let me tell you, the cameras don't lie. We have video recording equipment, we have camcorders, we have computers, we see them moving. Now, for one thing, I suggest that you check your own putting stroke. You probably have a camcorder. Get that camcorder, set it up on something stable that's not moving, and record a bunch of your putts. Just take it to your putting green, then take it home, put it in your VCR, and watch. From this angle, straight on, look at your body and see if you're moving around. 8 out of 10 golfers do it. Let me tell you, I've seen thousands, and it's a big problem. Now, for the tall people, for the large people, I suggest that your putting stance should be at least as wide as your shoulders. If you go a little wider, that's okay. But I want the outside of your feet outside the outside of your shoulders, not inside or not at the edge. If you're standing like this, if a little wind hits you, it makes it too easy to turn and move. So, feet outside of your shoulders, the edges of your feet outside your shoulders. If you want to go a little wider, that's fine. But the wider you have the stance, the more immobile it makes your body. Now, tip number 2, I've just flared my left toe out. As you have your left toe turned towards the target, it makes it easier to turn your body towards the target. I love that in the finesse game when you're hitting your wedges. I love it on your driver when you're trying to get power in the shot. I hate it in putting. I want you to square up your shoes, at least as wide as your shoulders and square. Now, one of the great players of our time, Arnold Palmer, took it a step further. He wanted a super stable base, and he toed his toes in. He stands pigeon-toed. Now, Arnold Palmer doesn't walk pigeon-toed. He's not pigeon-toed. He just toes in to get a stable base because he's trying to get rid of body motion. I like that. It's okay. I don't want you turning and facing the hole and making that easy. So we want to stabilize your lower body. Now, if you have a wide stance and square feet, I kind of like that because it's easy to align to some target. I like that. I have one other thought for you. To eliminate all the motion in the lower half of your body, which is what I would like. Up to your sternum, I'd like everything to stay still and let your arms swing and your shoulders swing like that. Nothing else move. I'd like for you to perceive in your mind's eye that from your thighs down, you're in cement. Just imagine that you got over your putt, you're ready to stroke it, and somebody poured cement in a great big container around here and it's solid. This cannot move. Now that's the perfect base from which to make a perfect putting stroke. Now this body motion problem occurs in many ways. When I see big barrel-chested men, thick people that are well connected between their lower bodies and their upper bodies, I see a problem of rotation. As they swing their putter, somehow they think they should rotate their bodies. They really don't think that, but the subconscious mind is controlling your body. You rotate your body in every other swing in golf, and so it's really easy to get a lot of body rotation into your putting stroke. Now, for those of you who see your bodies rotating on your camcorders, on your videos when you look at it, is a pretty easy drill that I want you to do. I want you to turn when you're out on the putting green the next time and find your shadow. My shadow is right here. As you set up to this shadow, you get your feet wide, your stance square. You're going to make a nice smooth stroke now. Watch the lower half of your body in the shadow. Don't pay any attention to where the ball goes. Just actually strike balls, roll putts, but watch the lower part of your body, because when you rotate your body, that whole shadow moves. Boy, it's just like watching a movie or a photograph of your body motion. I can see all of that body motion watching my shadows move. Now for the thinner leader body types, the lightweight people, of which I am not among them, they don't tend to rotate their bodies. They're much less powerful. They tend to slide. As they bring their putting strokes through, they slide, they move towards the hole. Easy drill to fix this, really. You want to go in your home, take your putter home with you, and get in a doorstop. Put your leading hip, now if you're left-handed, I want this one going that way. It's the leading hip that's the problem. I want you to back into a doorway so that your hip, right where I'm holding this putter, is against a very solid door jamb. It cannot move. Now as you make your putting stroke, this won't move. You can't move that door jamb, and you'll learn the feeling. You can internalize what it feels like to make a beautiful arm swing and a beautiful putting stroke without sliding. Just get it against a door jamb. Now, there's one more common motion problem, and this is really for a lot of the students of the game. People who read, you should not move your body. They concentrate on no body motion, but they think that their head is sitting on their shoulders, which it's not. Your head is sitting on your spine. But a lot of golfers perceive their head as being sitting on top of their shoulders, so that when they move their putter back, they move their head forward. And when they move their putter forward, they move their head back. They have what I call the reversal of the head going the opposite direction of a putter. Now, that's a bad deal. I still want your sternum sitting still. I want your head sitting still, because if you just think of your head as being motionless, you're not going to move your sternum. Your head can stay very still when you swing your putter. You don't have to move your head. There's a good drill for this too. Just move right up to a wall. Imagine now my head, the top of my hair, is right against a wall. Not my head itself, but the hair. And if my hair is touching the wall and I make a stroke and I move, then I feel the motion right on my hair. It's good feedback. You can tell every time. All you have to do is make about 8 or 10 strokes indoors with your hair against a wall, and you'll feel if you're moving your head. There's no question. It's a quick learning process. It won't take very long. So I recommend you not only get your camcorders out and make videos of your putting stroke, but you start taking your putters home, because you can do a lot for your stroke by doing these little drills at home. It'll help you a lot. Now when we come back, I want to work on problem number 2. It's the wrist breakdown.
Golf Channel Academy is brought to you by Ram FX Series irons. More feel, more forgiving, more fun. A better way to play. And by Payne Weber. We believe our most important investment is an investment in relationships.
Tony put money away from my college when I was little, right?
Smartest thing I ever did.
I guess I gotta start thinking about stuff like that.
I'll talk to my guy, Payne Weber. He got you through college.
Broker? Do I want to be in stocks right now?
I thought the same thing when I started saving for you. But he showed me if I was looking long term, and the only place to be is in the market.
And he'll know that's what I'm looking for.
He'll know. Because he'll ask.
Zebra the putter. Millions of dollars earned. Countless PGA, LPGA, seniors, and world tournaments won. Zebra the putter for over 20 years. The herd shot round the world.
The new FX Pro Set iron. Original thinking, original design, original performance. 3 different sets in one. The power to improve your game, times 3.
Call us at 1-800-RAM-PLAY.
Welcome back to our short game show. And remember, we're working on the 3 big problems of putting. We talked a few minutes ago about moving your body. The second major problem that afflicts so many golfers, probably more than the 80% that I was talking to you about, is what I want to describe is as wrist motion. Regardless of how the players hold their putters, they power the putt with their wrist muscles. Now, I really don't know of very many golfers at all that try to hit their putts with their wrists. Most golfers say, oh, I really pay attention to that. I'm really trying not to break my wrists. But more than 80%, I promise you, break their wrists during the impact zone. As the putter passes through impact, they're changing their wrist angle. This changing wrist angle means the face angle of the putter is changing also. And of course, if you've been good enough to align it correctly in the first place, if you change that as you move through impact, you're not likely to hit it perfectly squarely in the right direction very often. So I really want to talk to you about breaking your wrists during your putting stroke. Most golfers never even think about the backstroke, and they try not to break their wrists on the follow-through, but if you break it on the backswing, you're going to miss every putt to the right unless you break it through reversing on the follow-through. So first piece of advice, don't break your wrists on the backswing of your putting stroke. You may say, your first instinct will tell you, well, then I'm going to leave the putt short. Look, make a bigger swing. Make a long, flowing swing, kind of like the Ben Crenshaw swing. That's okay in putting. You don't need to power it with your wrists. It's okay to make a nice, flowing motion. I'm not saying you have to have your wrists straight and no angles at all. That's a nice way to putt. Andy North, one of the best putters I know, putts that way. But you can have a little wrist angle there. Just don't change it. Feel like that wrist is in concrete, just like your lower thighs are. If you move your wrist angle and you just can't stop it, then I've got a drill for you. I want you to reverse the position of your hands on the putter. I want you to putt left hand low. Now don't give me anything about cross-handed. You say, oh, I don't want to putt cross-handed. Only bad putters putt cross-handed. Look, there's nothing crossed in this grip. This is left hand low. Cross-handed is when you cross your hands and putt. And that is truly a terrible way to putt. but I don't know a single person in the world putting cross-handed. I do know some pretty fair players by the name of Tom Kite, Fred Couples, Bernard Langer, Paul Azinger. I've seen a lot of fellows. How about Payne Stewart, putting left-hand low? Nothing wrong with this. Now, when you put your right powerful hand, if you're right-handed, instead of in a dominant position where it breaks down your left wrist, put it up here in a submissive position. Now, if you fire with your right hand, nothing happens to the left wrist angle. It just moves your arm, and it's a pretty good way to stroke putts. There's nothing wrong with striking a ball left hand low. If you really still have a problem with that, and I've seen some people take it back left hand low and still break their wrist on the follow through, then I want you to try the Bernhard Langer technique. It's what I call the clamp left hand low. I want you to clamp the upper part of your putter to the left forearm. You can now roll the putt without breaking the wrist at all. Now, Bernhard Langer has been to our short game school. He's a great guy, and he could putt before he got to us. But we've encouraged him to stay with that grip. It's a wonderful grip. He's a wonderful putter. You don't win the Masters twice putting poorly, let me tell you. The man can putt, and he's been leading money winner in the world for several years. The man can putt. So try this. I'm telling you, even if you don't want to putt that way on the golf course, practice that way, because when you go back this way and you now have learned the feeling of not bending your left wrist when you putt, you can putt better with your right hand low. It helps. It helps a lot to stop breaking these wrists. Now there's one other drill. Mr. Andrew North taught me this, and that is to get just as you normally stand over your putter. You're ready to putt, and take your right arm off and put it on your right leg. Now, just make your putting stroke with your left arm. We call that the left arm only drill. That makes your wrist angle stay fairly firm. You won't break it down like this or you'll just putt awful. So try those techniques. They'll help you putt with less wrist in your putting stroke through the impact zone, and I promise you, that'll help you. Now the last basic problem that I see in so many golfers, this is the last of the big three, and that is, please excuse my term here, I don't know what else to call this, but line lockedness. It's golfers are so locked in and focused on the line of their putt that they forget about speed, they forget about distance. Now, when you're worried about their line, let's say I'm reading this putt to break about 8 inches left to right, which is what it really breaks. If I look at that and I say 8 inches, okay, now I'm over my putt. I wonder if I'm really aimed exactly 8 inches. Oh, geez, I've got to move my putter face. I'm worried about this 8 inches. And then I start thinking, boy, I better not toe it in during the stroke, or I better not hold on too long, or I better not break down. You start thinking mechanical thoughts. Line lockedness leads into mechanical thoughts. And the truth is, more putts are missed in golf because of bad speed than bad line. You know why? Because speed controls line. If you don't hit the putt the right speed, it's not going to break the amount that you read. You're not going to have any clue of where that ball's going to go unless you control its speed. So what I want you to do is get over line lockedness. I want you to take a preview stroke focusing on speed. This is where I think you need to have your mind right before you putt. If you say that this putt breaks 8 inches, fine. Take your practice stroke aiming just parallel left of 8 inches and move in and address your putt, and now you're aimed 8 inches to the left of the cup, fine. Now think speed. How do you think speed? Well, just remember that stroke you just made, that practice stroke, that was about the right speed. That's my preview. I then just put the putter in and repeat it. Try to roll at the right speed. You see, the speed I'm trying to roll the ball is a speed that rolls about 17 inches by the hole. I want the ball about this far, about half the length of your putter, right here. That's how far past the cup I want all of my putts. If I rolled every putt the perfect speed, I'd make a lot of them. I'd make more than any other single correction I can make in my stroke mechanics or in my line. And just recently, I was out at a tour event, and Donnie Hammond came up to me and said, DP, how can I get out of thinking about mechanics right before I putt? It's really given me a problem. When we come back, I'm going to show you what Donnie Hammond's working on.
Now, the most difficult shots in golf are easy to make with the Alien Ultimate Wedge. You'll be out in one swing, guaranteed.
I don't care how high a handicapper you are or how little you play. You'll get out of the sand on your very first swing or your money back.
Over 60% of all shots are taken within a short distance of the pin. The Alien Ultimate Wedge's triple radius design gets you out of the sand, out of the deep rough, even off hard pan. You don't need a new swing, a new stance, or a sports psychologist. All you need to get on the green is the Alien Ultimate Wedge. Call now for your free video and brochure and find out how you can get this revolutionary club in your bag.
If you live for golf and want to save strokes, pick up the phone right now and order your Alien Wedge. I guarantee you'll be glad you did.
The Alien Ultimate Wedge.
There's a long one.
One swing, and you're out of there.
Right on it. All right.
Guaranteed.
Robert Allenby goes down under to defend his title against Australia's best at the Heineken Australian Open. Only on the Golf Channel. Begins Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Tonight, Lord Byron Nelson joins us in the final chapter of our Legends Week. Nelson Littler and Jerry DeWitt struggled to defeat against him. And take a look at his personal side in an encore presentation of Golf Talk Live. Tonight, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Welcome back. Now, instead of working on more of your putting stroke mechanics, I want you to be exposed to one of my friends, Donnie Hammond, the PGA Tour professional here. He's been on tour for 13 years. And I caught up with him here today at the Colonial Invitational, and I found him working on his putting stroke mechanics. We've been talking about it. We've been working a little bit here, and Donnie has really been thinking mechanics. Now, Donnie, I want to have you tell the audience now what you've been working on and what we've come up with here today.
All right, Dave. I think part of the problem I've had with my putting is I'm working on too much. I'm thinking of maybe 5 or 6 things in one putting stroke, and what it does is it breaks my stroke up. It creates a little bit of tension in my arms instead of doing what you're suggesting is keep a nice tempo in the stroke and try to feel the speed of the putt a little more versus thinking about your mechanics. It's freed me up a lot already, and I think it'll help everyone. Originally, what I've been doing was trying to keep the putter on the inside a little bit in here, keeping a shorter stroke and trying to follow through with the putter coming to the hole. And if you're smart enough to think of 3 or 4 things while you're putting, you're doing pretty good. So it's been making me a little tense over the putts. It's kind of like this. And it's not a real good rhythm that you want to putt with. Now what I'm trying to do is feel the speed a little better, which is maybe take an extra practice stroke, trying to get the right rhythm and the right speed of the putter, and it actually relaxes my shoulders a lot more. Now I can stand over the putt, ready to hit it, knowing the speed. The ball seems to roll a little better. Hope it does that on the course when I need it.
Well, that looks very nice. Now, in the past, let's get back to this 3-part stroke because that's very interesting. Show me how you have been missing them. I know you've been struggling with your putting. We've talked about it a little bit. Show me again. I want to see that 3-piece because the mechanics, while they weren't bad, he was thinking mechanics. And that's a terrible thing to think about when you're putting.
I've been aiming a little bit to the right. I'm trying to aim a little more at the hole now. What I was doing, my shoulders were getting up a little bit closer to my neck. I was kind of hunched up a little bit, and it was putting a little bit of pressure on my arms. I think that was because of trying to put the putter in a certain location, like to the inside. So a little more tension in my hands than I wanted. It was forcing me to put it in here and then try to manufacture a stroke. Some of them went in, but I didn't have real good speed, and I wasn't getting the line very well. So, you know, I guess I used the stroke and used it pretty well, but I think this new stroke is going to be a lot better for me. I think I'm going to develop a little better touch.
All right, let's set this up now. This is the 18th hole of the Colonial, Donnie Hammond, 8-foot putt to win. Let's see the rhythm, Donnie. Yes. Champion.
All right,
Nice hole.
Dave, thanks.
Thank you, and I hope it works for you.
For information about the Dave Pelz Short Game School, call 1-800-824-8899.
Golf Magazine, the official magazine of the Golf Channel.
Time of golf can be unpredictable, so it's good to know there's one thing you can always count on. The Izod Club shirt. It's guaranteed forever, or we'll replace it free of charge. Izod Club. A shirt like this comes along once in a lifetime.
Golf? What the hell is golf? You and the stick and the ball.
Please, that's what makes it fun.
Golf.
Golf.
Yo, golf.
I'll never forget, in '69, when I won a lot of tournaments that year, too. After one tournament in particular that I won, I ended up in my hotel room crying and sitting in a corner. And that scared me a whole bunch.
Today at 6:30 p.m. Eastern.
What shot do you hit from the fringe? When you're just off the green, do you putt it or do you chip it? How do you know which one to hit? Why don't you come and see our next Dave Pelz Short Game show? We're going to show you all the reasons, all the conditions for choosing clubs, one for the other. We'll show you the best way to get it close to the hole, and we're going to show you how to lower your scores.
Coming up next, only on the Golf Channel.
Now don't forget, I want you to keep charting your games. For 10 rounds, I want you to keep track of how many drives you hit. This will be about 14, I guess. How many shots you hit from outside 100 yards, and how many you hit from inside 100, and how many putts you take. Add these numbers up following each round. I'll take all this information, and on a later show, I'll prove to you not only the importance of your short game, but why and where you need to improve it. Remember, send this information to me at the Dave Pelz Short Game Show, care of the Golf Channel, 7580 Commerce Center Drive, Orlando, Florida, 32819. For this week's 65% data point, I want you to pay special attention. It's the percentage of putts holed by the world's best putters, the PGA Tour. The data is taken right from my PGA Tour file, and it shows how many putts, on average, the players make from every distance. Now, the top of this curve shows the best putters in the world. The bottom of this curve shows the worst putters on the tour, which are still great putters. By any standards, these are the best putters around, and you can see that only 50% of the putts, plus or minus 5%, 45 to 55, from 6 feet. That's all they convert. So don't feel bad the next time you miss a 6-footer. When you get out to 10 or 12 feet, you're down to 25%. That's 1 in 4. It goes down from there. But what I want you to get from this is that inside of 20 feet, you have a significant chance to make your putts. Now, I want you, as a result of this show, to get rid of the big 3 putting problems. I want you to get rid of the motion of your body during your putting stroke. There's no reason for you to move your body and try to putt. It's like threading a needle while you were walking down the street. You'd never do that. When you thread a needle, you stand very still, and you are motionless except for the motion of the needle through the thread. That's what I want you to do in putting. Stand motionless. Practice against the doorstop. Put your hair against the wall. Square your feet. Stand pigeon-toed if you have to. Do whatever you have to do to be motionless except for your arms and your shoulders. Let your shoulders swing as your arms swing. Don't try to move your shoulders or your head will start going. I want you to swing your arms from your sternum. Just keep your head and your sternum still. Swing your arms and your shoulders and your putter all together. Now don't break your wrists. Don't change your wrist angle as you're going through the impact zone. That's crazy, because that's going to change the face angle of your putter. Try to keep not stiff, not tight, but keep a constant angle in your wrists. If you can't do it, change your putter grip. Put your left hand low. There's no problem. Some of the best players in the world. I'll take Freddie Couples, Tom Kite, and Bernhard Langer, and I'll play anybody. And they're all left-hand low putters. They can really putt. They're not doing it because they can't putt the other way. They're doing it because it's a great way to putt. So practice left-hand low. It'll cut down your wrist motion. If you do that, that's going to help. Now, the last thing I want to remind you of is line lockedness. I know it's a crazy word, but golfers come to me and all they ask about is how can I start my putts on line? How can I putt my ball right at that point? How can I get a better line in my putts? And I do research and I test and I measure them in schools every week, and their problem is speed. I want you to focus on speed. I want you to take a practice stroke that's very meaningful. Don't take a great big practice stroke just to loosen up, and don't take just some motion that doesn't mean anything. Take a stroke parallel to your ball and make it meaningful. Imagine that that stroke is going to roll your ball. Would it roll it 17 inches by, half a putter length by the hole? If you can get your preview stroke, then all you have to do is step in and stroke the real stroke just like the preview. Now listen, I promise you, I've seen a lot of golfers putt. I make my living teaching the short game. And if you can remove the big three problems, body motion, wrist breakdown, and line lockedness from your game, odds are you're going to move into the upper echelon of putters. You're going to make more putts inside of 20 feet. And I want you then to come back to my short game shows and learn about your wedges. Now, if anybody as big and clumsy as I am can chip like that, I know that you can too. Seriously, welcome to the Dave Pelz Short Game Show. We're here at the beautiful Short Game Ranch at La Quinta, California, PGA West. It's a great place to work on your short game, and we've got a really good show for you today. In my short game schools that I give here, both here and at Boca Raton in Florida, I hear a question all the time. It's, DP, should I chip or putt from the fringe? They ask the question, should I chip or putt from here, like it's a rule of golf that they don't understand. Listen, it's not in the rules. I want you to forget about a rule of golf for the fringe. I want you to change the question. I want you to imagine, how can I get this shot closest to the hole? I want to get so many of them so close that some of them actually fall in. There's no rule of what you should do from here. What I want to do today is teach you what the guidelines are for choosing. Sometimes I putt, sometimes I chip. Who knows? I want to show you how you should do it and make your game better.
Golf Channel Academy is brought to you by Ram FX Series irons. More feel, more forgiving, more fun. A better way to play. And by Payne Weber. We believe our most important investment is an investment in relationships.
Tony putting money away from my college when I was little, right?
Smartest thing I ever did.
I guess I gotta start thinking about stuff like that.
I'll talk to my guy, Payne Weber. He got you through college.
Broker? Do I want to be in stocks right now?
I thought the same thing when I started saving for you. But he showed me if I was looking long term, and the only place to be is in the market.
And he'll know that's what I'm looking for.
He'll know. Because he'll ask.
Zebra the putter, millions of dollars earned, countless PGA, LPGA, seniors and world tournaments won. Zebra the putter for over 20 years. The herd shot round the world.
The new FX Pro Set iron. Original thinking, original design, original performance. 3 different sets in one. The power to improve your game, ×3.
Call us at 1-800-RAM-PLAY.
Coming up on the next Golf Central, we'll see which team prevails at the Sharks Shootout. We'll have all the interviews and highlights from Thousand Oaks, California, and final round results from the Pebble Beach Invitational. That and more, 7:30 Eastern, only on the Golf Channel.
All right, remember now, we're talking about whether to putt or chip from the fringe. I want to give you some guidelines. The first guideline is, if the ball is sitting up, if there's no grass behind it, if you can get the blade of the putter on the ball squarely and cleanly, that's good, you can putt it. To determine the distance that this ball is going to roll, I can't have any grass being squished between the club face and the ball. The first guideline is, to putt the ball, you must be able to get the putter face on the ball cleanly. Now, if I do that, there's another guideline. The ball must be capable of rolling horizontally. If I strike it with a flat-faced putter, I don't want the ball being down in a hole to pop up and lose a lot of distance because it's popping along the ground. If you strike it with a putter, the ball must be sitting up so that it'll go exactly horizontally. You don't want bouncing balls out there. You want your putts to roll. Now, third, if both those things are okay, I've got to have no long grass or no danger in front of the ball that could catch it up. I don't want the ball that you strike perfectly with a putter to be rolling through long grass and get caught up in it and go nowhere. So if there's a lot of grass out in front, you can't putt it. And last of all, even if there's no long grass, is it smooth? Will the ball roll and not bounce? If you're at Augusta National, you can putt from 20 or 30 feet off the green. They've got beautifully contoured fringes, beautifully contoured fairways. They're smooth. But a lot of golf courses don't have that. If your ball is going to bounce along in front of you before it gets to the green, I don't want you to putt it. If all four of those are positive, you can putt it. And this lie that I'm standing by right now meets all four criteria. So what I've done, I've got a guest here today. Deborah Spain is one of my staff. She's a LPGA and a former PGA of America member. She's now a full-time instructor in our short game schools. She's got a great short game. She's been working on it. And Deborah, I'd like to have you just roll that putt for them and let them see how the ball leaves the putter and rolls across the green. There's no question when you're this close to the surface, putt them. There's no reason not to. It's the easiest shot. Okay, that's pretty good. Now, if any one of those four reasons is not okay to putt, then I want you to get your chipping club. Deborah, why don't you show the audience where we see most of our people play their chip shots with their chipping irons. Now, most golfers use 4 and 5 irons, and that's okay if you're going to put the ball in the middle of your stance. But when we see people address the ball like this, with the ball right in the middle of her stance, take a couple of swings for me there, Deb. Don't hit the ball. There you go. They hit about half of these shots, fully 50% of these shots fat. They hit the ground behind the ball, which ruins their distance control. Now, in our schools, we don't teach that at all. Deb, show us where we want people to put the ball. We want you to put the ball on your back foot. Now, with a very narrow stance, this is not a powerful shot. That's only about 3 inches behind the center of her stance. But now, before she hits it, she's going to turn her body by moving her toes towards the target. She didn't move her heel. The ball's still only 2 to 3 inches behind the center of her stance, but it looks like it's behind her feet. We like the ball back in your stance, and instead of using a 5 or 6 iron, we like to use a 7 or an 8 iron. Deborah's got an 8 iron right here, I can see it, and this will again get clean contact on the ball. It will now fly over this fringe, and it will go to the hole. Deborah, go ahead and show us the chipping swing here. It's not a whole lot different than the putting stroke. It's just a nice little swing, and she's focusing on ball contact. It's the single most important thing. I want the ball to fly over the fringe. I want it to roll. I want it to roll as soon as it can. It's got very little backspin on it because when she takes that 8 iron and she puts the ball back in her stance, it gets the loft of a 5 or a 6 iron. Now, if you think back in your stance is a little bit dangerous, Deborah, I want you to give them the 2 inches backswing. Put the ball 2 inches back further. Now, this truly is behind her back foot. But she can still hit a great chip shot from here. Nothing really happens except the ball goes lower and rolls sooner. If there's nothing up here and no high grass in front of her club, she can hit that In fact, Deborah, give them the full-blown thing we have to do in the schools. In our schools, to convince people you can put the ball back in your stance and still hit a good shot, we put the ball a foot behind our back foot, and we go ahead and we chip this way. Now that ball left exactly horizontally. Not a bad pattern up there. You can chip from a foot behind you. Now, there's one other thing that you might have a problem with. You've rolled off the green, through the fringe, and you're back here now in the rough. We've got kind of a nesty little lie here. There's some grass behind the ball. You certainly don't want to hit that with an 8-iron or a 5-iron or a 6-iron because you're going to have all kinds of grass between your club face and the ball. I want Deborah to show you it's basically the 8-iron stance, it's basically the little chipping swing, but now she's got a sand wedge. If you put a sand wedge back in your stance, it's going to come out like an 8 or a 9-iron. It's still going to fly up here onto the green, and then it's going to go to the hole, but you've had really good contact. Deborah, a nice little chipping swing. It looks like it's behind her, but it's just back in her stance. And did you hear the click of the ball? The ball clicked against the club face. It's a nice shot. It's clean. One more for us, Deb. Back in your stance. Wait just a hair left on your body, just a little bit forward. Nice ball club contact. Now, look, you've got a choice. You've got a choice. You can putt them, and you can putt them from anywhere in this distance. There's no rule about putting from a distance off the green. It all depends on your lie. It all depends on how high the grass is in front of you. It depends on how smooth it is. It depends on what you're best at. I mean, I've seen people that are real bad chippers just putt from everywhere, but that's really tough if you've got grass here. I'd never want to putt that ball from where she hit that wedge. But that's an easy little wedge shot. It's not difficult, it's not handsy. And when we come back, I'm going to let one of my friends on the PGA Tour, he's our special guest today, Mr. Robin Freeman. He's a great, great player. I wanted him to show you what he does in these lies around the green because he's been through our school. We've learned a lot from Robin. I hope he's learned a few things from us. And he's doing great on the tour right now. And we'll see Robin when we get back.
Sick of that slice? Tired of hitting it fat? Ready to lower your handicap? Then pick up the phone and call 1-800-831-8008 and order your own copy of Harvey Penick's Little Green Video. Hosted by Dave Marr and featuring U.S. Open champion Tom Kite and two-time Masters champion Ben Crenshaw, the Little Green Video can knock strokes off your score in a hurry. Rated 4 stars by Golf Magazine, the Little Green Video is jam-packed with more than 70 minutes of lessons, stories, tips, and drills. The Little Green Video will give you instant access to the secrets that have helped thousands play their best. Anytime you're having trouble, just pop in the tape and Harvey's teachings will get you straight. The Little Green Video costs just $19.95 plus $4.50 shipping and handling. Satisfaction guaranteed or your money back. Harvey Penick was perhaps golf's greatest teacher. Call 1-800-831-8008 and order the Little Green Video today.
Welcome back to the Dave Pelz Short Game Show. And I want to introduce a special friend here. It's Robin Freeman. He's a PGA Tour player, and he's special because he's come up through the PGA professional ranks. He was a PGA pro, he taught for a few years, then he decided to play for a living. And I've been fortunate enough to work with Robin recently on his short game. He's been through our short game school, and he's playing great. He's going to be one of the great players. What I want him to do is show you what we've been working on today, how he gets it to the hole from the fringe, up against the lip of the fringe, and then back in the rough. Robin, if you would show us a few of your techniques and tell us what you're thinking when you're doing it, please.
Well, first of all, Dave, let me say thank you for the pleasure of working with you. You've made a great difference in my short game. It's really helped me out on the tour. But today I want to talk to you about a couple shots you might be having problems with around the greens. One thing Dave and I work on a lot is technique and trying to get the proper technique into our golf school and obviously into the game out on the tour. A couple of the shots that you might be having problems with, one is the putter off the fringe. As you can see here, I've got two balls. Both of them are pretty good lies, and the fringe is very smooth and nice where you would want to take a putter. So obviously the safest way to do this is just to make sure on the fringe is that you have a very smooth fringe. Once you have a very smooth fringe, then you just take the putter and putt it. Very simple. You just go through your routine, feel the pace that you need to swing the putter to get the ball to the hole, stand over it, and putt it. Now, let's say that there is some irregularities in the green. Well, what you don't want to do is have the ball bouncing around, going everywhere. You're not sure where it's going to go. So the best thing to do if you have a few bumps or some thin grass or a ball mark like that is to take a 7-iron, 8-iron, something like that, and chip it over that onto the green to get it running on the green. Let me show you. Basically, the technique is exactly the same. The only thing difference is the ball position goes back in your stance, which allows you to hit the ball first. So you do everything. Say there's a ball mark or something there where you want to chip it over it. Well, it's very simple. You do the same things you do in the putting system. The only thing you would do different, as opposed to having the putter, the ball up in your stance on the stroke, you just want to move the ball back a little bit to make sure that you hit the ball first. So you do everything the same. Just move the ball back, use your putter grip, go through your routine, and then just use a putting stroke. Very simple. But the safest play is the putter. When the when the fringe is smooth through here, use the putter. If you got some irregularities, you're not sure how the ball is going to come out, take a 7-iron, 6-iron, whatever distance you have, you feel comfortable with. Just put the ball back in your stance and do the same thing, just a putter swing. Okay? Now, here's a couple of shots that you might be scared of, and tour pros don't find it too easy to do either. But when the ball gets against the collar, okay, like that, there's two different shots that most of the tour pros play. One is with a sand wedge. And why we take this club is because if you use the putter is going to have a tendency to hit the grass in back of the ball. You can see here that there's a lot of grass between the blade and the ball. So it's very tough to figure out how hard the ball is going to come out. So what we do on the tour is we take a sand wedge, and all we do is try to do the same thing as we do in our putting stroke. Same ball position, same grip, same stance, same ritual, everything. You go through your ritual. All you're doing is making a putting stroke over the top of the grass. You're just trying to brush the top of the grass with the bottom of the club. It's very easy. Don't get scared of this shot. All it is just a putting stroke where you're brushing the top of the grass, all right? So you just get up, do the same things you normally would, lightly touch the top of the grass with your club, and this is a putting stroke.
Robin, I think it's important for the audience to understand you're hitting that ball right in the center of the ball with the leading edge of the wedge. It's right on top of the grass.
Exactly right. The reason what we're trying to do with the sand wedge is see how thin this blade is right here compared to a putter blade that's this thick. We just got a little bit of edge right here, and this allows none of the grass to get between the club and the ball. So that's what we're trying to do, is basically just get the no grass situation in there where we're just trying to skim the top and hit it in the middle of the ball with the edge of the club. So you just just lightly lay the club on top of the grass, and it's just a putter stroke.
Well, that rolled perfectly.
Yeah, everything's the same as what you would use with a putter on the green. The only thing you're trying to do is you don't want to dig in, you don't want to try and chip it. Just let the club brush the top of the grass, okay? Just let the club brush the top of the grass with a putting stroke. Now, there is one safer way, but the club is a little bit tougher to control. Let me show you. You might have seen a few guys on tour do this before, and this is a very easy way to allow the ball to come out. See, with this flat sole on your fairway wood, there's a big flat sole back here, so the club can't get down into the grass. The only problem with this shot is that you have to practice it. Obviously, with all these shots, you have to practice a great deal, and it's not really as hard as it looks. But if you just do it a couple times, get some confidence in it, it's very easy. Now, the fairway wood is what you have to make sure you do is choke up. Okay, you have to really choke down on the grip so you can control it. You don't want to be here because the club is going to be swinging too far. So you want to choke down, and you basically want to do the same thing. Just try and brush the top of the grass with the sole of the fairway wood. It's very easy. Just lay it right behind there, brush the top of the grass, and stroke it. It's putting stroke, everything's the same. All of Dave's techniques have to do with basically the same technique, has a difference. The main difference is the ball position in your stance. Okay, everything is done with a smooth, gradual acceleration. So remember, it's a very easy shot actually, and it's one you don't have to try and chip or get fancy with. It's just a shot that you use your normal putting stroke. Just make sure that the club, whether it be the sand wedge or the fairway wood, stays on top of the grass, and you just brush the grass and just use your putting stroke. That takes a little practice, you know, just to kind of feel it, but it's a very easy shot. A couple other shots that we've been working on is basically a chip and run from a perfect lie as opposed to a bad lie where the ball gets down in the rough. Let me show you what we do with the perfect lie first. The reason you wouldn't want to putt this ball, first of all, is because there's so much inconsistencies and irregularities in the rough and then the fringe. You want to basically be able to fly over all this mess and get the ball on the green as fast as possible to allow it to roll. One of the things that is very easy about this shot is that it's basically the same as the fringe shot that we just discussed. It's basically a putting motion, but you have to move the ball back in your stance a little bit in order to make sure you hit the ball first and hit it on a descending blow. It's not a perfect surface, so you can't really actually hit it up on it. You kind of hit a little up on a putting stroke, not up, but catching it just at the bottom of the stroke. But you want to make sure this is at the bottom of the stroke too, but the key is to move it back a few inches so that you make sure you hit the ball first. Right, Dave?
That's it. That's it, my man.
But off a good lie like this, you want to take 7-iron, 8-iron, 9-iron, whatever it is, that gets the ball on the green as quickly as possible and then releases to the hole. So I like to, from this shot, to take a 7-iron. And basically all it is, the same technique as that Dave teaches, is that everything's done around the greens with a putting motion. All right, but the main thing is that you want to make sure the ball gets back in your stance, that you're allowed to swing the putting motion and the club is going down into the ball, not up. You don't want to try and help it up, because if you get the ball too far forward, you have a tendency to go up, and you're going to miss-hit it, and it's not going to turn out nearly the way you want it to. So the best thing to do is you sit up in your routine, go through your ritual to try and figure out how hard you need to swing the club to get the ball to go the right distance. Move the ball back in your stance, which is normally here on a putter. I'm moving it back, so I'm allowing the club to make sure it hits the ball first. Very, very important. Put it back in your stance, and now it's just a putting motion. Okay? One more time. It's very easy. Remember, it's all done with the putting motion. Just move the ball back in your stance for your chipping. Same grip, same ritual. Go through your routine, figure out how hard you need to swing the club to hit it the right distance. Move it back in your stance a little bit. This is normal. This is back. Putting motion. Remember, everything's done with the putting motion. This is smooth acceleration. Smooth acceleration. Now, there's one shot that is a little bit harder to master. Of course, you're never going to master any part of this game, but gets a little buried with grass in behind the ball like this. Okay, now what you're going to find is that you really can't, like the fringe, you're really not going to be able to hit the ball first because there's so much grass behind it. But you can't really, you have to make sure you get it over this stuff. You have to get it over the rough and over the fringe. So what you really like to do is take maybe a sand wedge or a pitching wedge, something in that order. But what you're gonna have to do is play a little bit more like a bunker shot, a little chippy bunker shot. You're gonna have to hit behind it, because if you try and hit right down on top or right behind the ball, you're just asking for trouble. You're de-lofting the club a lot. You're not sure how the ball is gonna come out. So what I like to do here is basically the same motion as we had before. It's that you're just gonna try and hit the grass just behind the ball. So it's just the same motion. It's a little longer swing, obviously, because you have to hit it further. And then just play the ball back. And just trying to hit just behind the ball where the grass is. And the reason that you allow the grass to move the ball. You're not trying to force it out of there. You're not trying to hit the ball first. You're just allowing it like a bunker shot. You know how you hit the bunker shot, you hit behind it and allow the sand to carry the ball out of the bunker. Well, it's the same principle basically in this high rough. You don't try and hit the ball first. You try and hit behind it a little bit where the grass is laying, and just allow the grass to move the ball onto the green. There's a couple other things that we can go through, but it gets very, very technical, and that's something Dave's helping me with. But that's kind of the gist of some of those short shots. Basically, everything is just a putting motion when you have a clean lie. And then, obviously, when the fringe, you have to use the putter motion, too. You just try and belly it a little bit.
Robin, I think that looked really easy. I hope our audience can appreciate he's practiced every one of these shots thousands of times. It looks pretty easy when he does it, but you've got to practice it.
For information about the Dave Pelz Short Game School, call 1-800-824-8899.
36 holes of golf. A blend of casual elegance, superb service, and smashing recreation. Towering forests, quiet lakes, and rolling fairways. Mission Inn. Only 35 minutes from Orlando, Florida. Call 1-800-874-9053. Mission Inn, an extraordinary destination.
The Golf Channel has people talking.
Everybody in town is saying the same thing. He really has it.
Give me some more information, Joe. Golf Talk Live invites you to talk with the legends of the game.
They're really special people to me. Mind in a sportsman is far more important than hitting a golf ball well.
Oh, I've been hearing about that.
Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us tonight. Golf Talk Live. Get connected today.
Live tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Hi, I'm Dave Pelz, and I can hold 5 putters in one hand, but I sure can't putt with all these putters. Some of them would be good for my stroke, some of them would be bad, some would fit me, some they wouldn't. Some would be comfortable, some would not. If you come and see our next Dave Pelz Short Game show on the Golf Channel Academy, I'll show you how to pick a putter scientifically. It'll help you putt better. It'll be the best thing your putting game ever had.
Coming up next, only on the Golf Channel.
Now don't forget, I want you to keep charting your games. For 10 rounds, I want you to keep track of how many drives you hit. This will be about 14, I guess. How many shots you hit from outside 100 yards, and how many you hit from inside 100, and how many putts you take. Add these numbers up following each round. I'll take all this information, and on a later show, I'll prove to you not only the importance of your short game, but why and where you need to improve it. Remember, send this information to me at the Dave Pelz Short Game Show, care of the Golf Channel, 7580 Commerce Center Drive, Orlando, Florida, 32819. For this show's 65% data point, I want you to clearly understand how well some people get it up and down from the fringe. On the PGA Tour, they average about 92% up and downs. That's one putt after they hit this shot. On the LPGA Tour, they don't do it quite as well. They average about 64% of the time getting it up and down. Now, my data shows that amateurs, handicaps 10 to 12, only get it up and down about half the time, 50%. As the handicap goes up, the percentage goes down. Amateurs at 24 handicap are getting this shot up and down less than 1 in 4 times, and about 10% of the time, they're 3-putting after this. I mean, this shot can really lower your score if you can get it close enough to make the next putt. So, if you can putt it from the fringe, just remember the guidelines is putt it. If you can make good contact on the back of the ball with the putter face, if it's clean, there's no grass there. If you can roll that ball horizontally exactly in a roll, no bouncing from where it's lying, that's okay to putt too. If you think it's going to get caught in the grass up in front of you, don't putt it, don't putt it. If you think it's going to bounce, if the fringe isn't really smooth, don't putt it. All those conditions have to be right if you want to putt from the fringe. But if those are right, then putt it. It's the easiest shot, putt it every time. Now, if any of those conditions is not right for putting, you got to go to an 8-iron chip. You can use a 7-iron, you can use a 9-iron, depending on exactly how far you are from the green, but put it back in your stance. We want you to hit it clean again. We don't want grass between that club and the ball. You're not hitting it hard enough to go through any turf. You got to fly it over the fringe, but you want to fly it over low so that it rolls. We don't want a lot of bouncing here. We want to be able to control how far it rolls. And we don't want much spin on it. We put it back in the stance. We take the loft of the club down. An 8-iron rolls like a 6 or a 5-iron. A 9-iron will roll like a 7 or a 6-iron. And the worse the lie, put it further back in your stance. Remember, Deborah hit it from a foot behind her back foot. Robin can hit it from anywhere around his back foot. Keep the ball back in your stance. The worse the lie, the further back, so that you assure yourself clean contact. Clean contact is the single most important point of this whole shot. And finally, if your ball has rolled off into the rough, if you've got a really nasty lie, if there's grass around the ball, get that wedge coming in there on a very descending blow. Put it way back in your stance. Use the same shot, the same swing as the 8-iron chip, and chip it with a sand wedge. It'll come out like it's an 8-iron. It'll still roll pretty well. And you won't have much spin on it because you've got grass between the club and the ball. Now, you sometimes will have to blast it like Robin was showing you. That's okay. That's a tougher shot. It's tougher to get it really close to the hole, but all these shots can be really close. Don't listen to any golfers that tell you you do it this way or that if you want to get it close. You do it a different way if you want to make it. No, 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 no. I'm telling you, Raymond Floyd, Paul Azinger, Tom Kite, they're as good as I've seen. They're all trying to make all of them. Don't kid yourself. They're trying to make it. They're trying to go in the hole, and you can too. I hope to see you again on my next Dave Pelz Short Game Show, and I hope it helps you chip from the fringe. Good luck. I'm Dave Pelz, and welcome to the Dave Pelz Short Game Show. I've got a great show for you today. I think you're going to like it because it's one of the shows where I'm not going to bug you about practicing. I'm not going to try to improve your skill today. What I want to show you is how to choose a putter that will help you putt better. Now, before we get into the details, I want you to know where we are. Let me set it up for you. We're at the Dave Pelz Ranch at PGA West. This is a facility that is built for teaching the short game. I have my short game schools here at the ranch. We've got greens, we've got tees, we've got bunkers, we've got everything for teaching the game inside of 60 yards. This is just like my facility at the Boca Raton Resort and Club in Florida. And what I want to show you today is how to choose a putter that you will putt better with. You know, you may have received some advice before from someone that said, oh, putting is individualistic. Just pick something you like and go. Well, don't believe it. That is not good advice. I want to show you something. It's something that I see in my short game schools all the time. I see putters accommodating, accommodating to golf putters. If I pick this putter up, it's got a lie angle of 67 degrees, and if I put it flat on the ground there, I would say, okay, maybe I should putt this way. Well, I didn't make the putt. So a lot of golfers would say, shoot, that's probably the putter's fault. Let's try another putter. Well, now, this putter is actually quite a bit different. Look at this putter. This is very, very upright. If I'm going to sit the putter on the ground, I've got to accommodate. I've got to get very close to it. I've got to get here and putt like this. Shoot, I didn't make that putt either. That must not be the one. How about this one? Well, I'm going to try another putter, and if I stand to this putter when it's soled on the ground perfectly, I can stand about like this. I can make a very different stroke. Now, the funny thing is, most golfers pick the putter that they make the first few putts with. What if I had played a little different break? What if this had broken a little differently? What if there were some footprints on the green that had made the first ball go in? Yeah, I'd have probably chosen that putter and gone with it if I didn't know what I'm going to show you today. But you see, I believe golfers should not accommodate to putters. My putting stroke, stance, and setup shouldn't be formulated to fit one of these putters. I should choose a putter that fits my stance and my setup. I want to tell you something that's very important about putting. If you stand with your eyes vertically above the line that you're going to start the ball on, we call that the starting line or the aim line. If you stand with your eyes vertically above it, you can see where your putter's aiming better than if you have your eyes inside or outside of the line. Now that first putter, I was way inside of the line. So my eyes inside the line, you can see from the graphic my aim angle, the angle between my eyes and the hole, or the target line, and the ball and the real target line is angle A. Now, that's fine. Maybe I aim my putter perfectly and maybe this is the best stance for me. It's still bad when my eyes aren't over the line, because when I move out to 30 feet, angle A changes to angle B. And if I aimed it correctly from A, I will misaim it from angle B. There's no question about it. Everybody does that. You don't change the place you aim depending on how far you are from the hole. There's only one way to always aim correctly, and that is to stand with your eyes vertically above the line. Then all the aim angles go to 0, therefore they're all the same, therefore you can aim consistently. So that's point number one that I want to make for you today. Before we try any of the putters, I want you to understand, I want your eyes vertically above the aim line. Now the second thing I want is I want your hands hanging underneath your shoulders. Now I want them somewhere under the shoulders. I don't want them out here like you have with a driver, because if you have them out here with a driver, they're going to rotate around your body. That's no good for a putter. That makes face angle rotation. I don't want your hands down here between your knees. It's hard to move them. Boy, they have to do some really funny things. I want my hands hanging under my shoulders so that they will swing really freely. You see, my shoulders and hands and arms can swing, and I can make a nice looking stroke here. So I have those two requirements, but I've got another one. If I got my eyes over the line and my hands under my shoulders, I could do that like this. But I guarantee you, crouched down like that, I couldn't practice putting for 5 minutes. My back would be killing me. So there are 3 requirements that you must always establish when you size up any putter for yourself.